This has been the bloodiest day yet in the fighting in Gaza between Israel and Hamas militants, claiming the lives of more than 70 Palestinians and 13 Israeli soldiers. With Hamas missiles still being fired into Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed the ground offensive will continue as long as necessary. But today, with thousands of terrified Palestinians fleeing their neighborhoods and civilian casualties mounting, UN Chief Ban Ki-moon labeled the Israeli offensive atrocious. Tonight, we show you the view from both sides of this conflict. We start with Ayman Mohyeddin, who spent part of this day in the thick of the chaos and suffering. Ayman, good evening.
Good evening, Lester. It was the single deadliest day since this conflict began. An intense overnight fight between Israeli soldiers and Hamas fighters left scores of Palestinians dead, and we were at the hospital morgue as a stream of bodies came in throughout the day. One after the other, the bodies wheeled into Shifa Hospital revealed the horrors. In one neighborhood in East Gaza, more than 60 people killed today alone. On the drive-in, our camera captured those trying to get out. Fear etched on their faces, their belongings on their backs. They were the lucky ones who survived. These were the ones who did not. Israel says it's using surgical strikes to target Hamas fighters. It says tunnels and rockets are being destroyed. But here, so is everything else. Paramedics arrive with two more bodies. That's Palestinian journalist Khalid Hamad with his bloodied press vest. And first responders carrying one of their own. A 33-year-old medic who was killed when his ambulance was bombed while responding to a call. Even here, for those used to seeing death, it was too much. At the hospital morgue, there is no dignity for the dead. Families stepping over bodies to identify relatives tucked in every corner of the room. Today, we met this 24-year-old man crying over his sister's body. Dina was a third grader on her summer break. She ran out to the store to buy a snack and never came back. They're literally telling the people they don't have any more space in the morgue. There are so many bodies being brought in, they're literally turning them back at the door. You can hear the sense of chaos that's happening outside. Inside, the doctors pray to make it stop. It doesn't. More bodies, more grief. 3-year-old Haya, 11-year-old Semya, two cousins, and the uncle who had to identify them. How do you feel? I
feel very bad, very bad. The most bad moment in my life is this moment.
This is no longer just a hospital, it's a shelter. Families trying to escape the war come here. It has now become home to the injured, the scared, and the dead. Ayman Mohyeddin, NBC News, Gaza.
This is Kate Snow in southern Israel, where again and again today, choppers land to pick up the wounded Israeli soldiers being medevaced out. At Soroka Hospital in Beersheba, Dr. Yohanan Pizer is overseeing the triage.
Head injuries, eye injuries, abdominal injuries.
Outside the ER, we see a woman frantically searching for an injured soldier. I've been going to find my friend. We're inside when the sirens go off. Rockets are inbound. This happens about 10 times a day, we're told, with most intercepted by Israeli defenses. But just in case, we're rushed into a shelter. With us, a 20-year-old lieutenant who took shrapnel to his neck. His uncle tells me his nephew's injury only strengthens his resolve that this is a battle against terror.
It's very simple. For us, it's very simple. There are no dilemmas.
On the Israeli side of the Gaza border, we see military staging areas. We're a few miles from the Gaza border here on the Israeli side, and you can hear the tanks shelling in the distance. You can see black smoke coming up in plumes out of Gaza City, all evidence of an intensified ground operation. For the first time during this ground war, Israeli troops are confronting Hamas up close, destroying tunnels dug in the sand by militants trying to enter Israel. Israeli officials say they regret the loss of innocent life in Gaza today, but say Hamas is the one to blame.
Hamas is butchering its own people. What are they doing? They're placing missile launchers next to women and children and then shooting on Israel.
Today, a funeral for one of the Israeli soldiers killed on Saturday. Tomorrow will bring 13 more. President Obama spoke once again today with the Israeli Prime Minister, and there was a noticeable shift in tone from the president as he raised serious concerns about the growing number of casualties here. Meantime, Secretary of State John Kerry on his way now back to the region to try to broker some kind of ceasefire.